Hey guys, tonight we're slipping quietly into the mud and staying there for a while. You're stretched out, belly down, in a shallow scrape of earth that smells like rusted iron and old canvas. There's a damp chill seeping into your boots, and the trench line behind you feels far too far away. Every few minutes, a rifle cracks in the distance, sharp, sudden, never predictable. And out here, being noticed is usually the last thing you ever do. You're the sniper tonight. That might sound impressive, but don't get too comfortable. Odds are, you probably won't survive this. So, before we settle in, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, let me know in the comments. Where are you watching from? And what time is it right now? I love seeing this sleepy little history club stretch across time zones. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's quiet journey together. You lie motionless, belly down, cheek pressed against cold metal, and wonder, not for the first time, why anyone ever thought this was a good idea. You volunteered, maybe, or they picked you because you could hit the center of a target at 300 yards without squinting. Congratulations. That skill got you sent to a war where the landscape doesn't change for months, and the rats seem smarter than the generals. The Western Front doesn't reward precision. It punishes it. You used to think sniping meant stalking, moving like a shadow through brush like in the stories. One shot, then vanish. But here, you're basically playing hide and seek in a sandbox with landmines and 100 guys who already know where you're hiding. Because the moment the lines stopped moving, the war turned into a cartographer's dream. Every crater, ditch, and half-blown farmhouse got measured, logged, and probably targeted. There's a neat little logbook back in the German trench with a grid reference and a pencil mark labeled High Likelihood British Sniper Position. That spot you're in? It's probably on it. You're not just hiding. You're trapped in a known location. That broken wall that seemed perfect yesterday, blown to bits this morning. The burnt-out tree stump that gave a decent sight line across the wire. Now it's got a German machine gun watching it 24/7. Historians still argue whether snipers in World War I were actually effective at changing battlefield outcomes. What isn't up for debate is how awful it was to be one. Because unlike the infantry, who rotated out, got rest, or at least huddled with mates in dugouts, you're alone, belly deep in muck, try not to breathe too loud. The worst part? Everyone knows your job. Not just the brass. The Germans. The artillery teams. The rats, probably. You shift a little to ease the cramp in your shoulder, and your elbow finds something squishy. You don't check what it is. You keep your eye on the sight. You inch your way across the cold mud like a slug that regrets everything. The spot you were in. Remember that snug little crater with a decent line of sight and just enough cover to pretend you're not exposed? Yeah, it's done. Over. Probably already flagged by someone on the other side with a clipboard and a wicked sense of timing. That's the thing. Positions don't stay secret. Not here. Not now. The war's gone from a mess of movement to a frozen grid. Every foot of earth is known. Every angle has been measured. And the moment you pop up, the world starts mapping you. You reach a half-fallen timber post and pause. Not because it's safe. It isn't. But because your shoulders ache and your eyes need a second to remember they're not stuck behind the scope forever. The wind picks up, dragging the scent of cordite and something worse, mud mixed with decay. You don't breathe too deeply. You knew the trench lines were static. That part made sense. But what you didn't know was how quickly that stillness becomes a kind of prison. You're not stalking across fields like some steely-eyed movie sharpshooter. You're nailed to a square of dead land. Watched from 3 angles, and any position good enough to shoot from is already a marked grave. There used to be a time when you could sneak into a shell crater and have the element of surprise. That was 1914. Now, there's a whole German unit that logs shots from every direction, probably in penmanship neat enough to hang in a museum. They don't just guess where you are, they calculate it. Historians still argue whether these observation records really made a difference tactically. But there's no argument about what it did to you. It made you predictable. Every shot became a breadcrumb. Every crater used once was never safe again. You remember the first time you used a certain patch of rubble near a broken drainage trench. Perfect cover. Slanted view over the front. You took a shot, maybe it hit, maybe not, but you felt good. You even returned to it the next day. Bad decision. As you slid into place, a shell landed 20 feet away. Not a warning. Not a coincidence. Just German artillery saying, "We saw that." Try again. You crawled back with your ears ringing, a bruise on your shoulder, and a strong desire to never repeat mistakes. But you did. Everyone does. Because the war forces it. There aren't enough spots. Not enough terrain that hasn't already been claimed, studied, shelled, or covered in mud and bones. A fellow sniper told you once, while chewing stale bread and pretending not to cry, that the Germans used old-school geometry to figure out your hide. 3 scopes, 3 angles, some distance estimates. Bam, they know where you are. Not roughly, not maybe. They know. So now you play a new kind of game. Not just cat and mouse, but a math problem with blood on it. Don't fire twice from the same spot. Don't make a routine. Don't be visible at stand to. And don't get clever, because they've seen clever before, and they already have a counter for it. You scoot deeper into the mud and reach a new position. It's not great low angle. You're not a ghost to them. You're a pattern waiting to be solved. It gets inside your head, makes you paranoid. You start imagining how your own log might look if they're writing it right now. Subject fired from north-facing edge of crater, 7:43. Overcast conditions. Mild wind. Muzzle flash observed. Triangulating. You flinch. No shot. Just nerves. But the wind shifts again, and suddenly your back feels too warm, like maybe someone's watching. Maybe someone just marked your grid reference. Maybe someone just dialed in elevation and windage. You start looking at your surroundings differently. That burnt tree stump? Probably ranged by a sniper weeks ago. That pile of sandbags? Could be cover or bait. And that ridge with the tempting view? A known position. You don't go there. Not unless you want to end up a footnote in someone else's log. It's not just about camouflage. It's about unpredictability. You drag yourself into a shell hole that smells like rotten eggs and moss, and hope nobody else thought it looked inviting. You press yourself into the earth. You wait. You listen. Even without binoculars, you can feel the math being done somewhere. Someone with a scope. Someone with a chart. Someone who knows angles better than you ever did in school. You've learned not to be the second guy to use a position. That's the one who gets flattened. And yet, you're running out of fresh ground. Every corner of this dead world has been claimed, cataloged, and lined up for shelling. One of your mates, Murray, used to joke that you should fire and then leave behind a hand-drawn map labeled, "Not here anymore," just to confuse the Germans. You both laughed, until he didn't come back one day. Probably fired from a spot someone else used the day. You line up your shot. Take a breath. A long one. Slow in, slower out. The rifle doesn't care that you're freezing or that your heart's tap dancing in your throat. You squeeze the trigger. Crack. There it is. Not the clean, satisfying pop you hear in movies. This is louder, dumber, messier. A full body boom. The rifle kicks back, and in that split second, you realize it's happened again. Smoke. White, thick, curling like a ribbon from the barrel, swirling up and out like you lit a bonfire to wave hello. Cordite smoke. So visible it feels like betrayal. You didn't just fire a bullet. You launched a flare that says, "Hey guys, I'm over here." This isn't modern warfare. This is 1915, and every rifle in use, British, German, French, still runs on cordite. And cordite loves to be dramatic. It doesn't just go bang. It belches out a cloud of shame you can't hide from, especially on the Western Front, where the air already clings to every moisture molecule like gossip in a small town. You duck low, but it's already too late. The shot rang out, the smoke's hanging like a white flag. And somewhere across the way, someone saw it. Maybe 2 someones. Maybe 3. Historians still argue whether the smoke or the flash was worse. Honestly, you're not sure either. Both make your stomach sink, because just before the smoke, there was the flash. Not a whisper of light. A full blaze, a sunburst from the end of your rifle, lighting up even under a clouded sky. In the dark, it's like opening a door to a furnace. And the Germans love it when you light the way. They got teams, literally, Whole groups assigned to watch for muzzle flashes and smoke plumes. No shooting for them, just watching. Marking angles, calling it in. Some are perched with periscopes, others with telescopes, so good they could read your dog tag at 600 yards. You shift position. Fast, not reckless fast. Just enough to get out of the triangle of doom that's probably forming around your last location. Your heart's thudding now, and your breathing's gone shallow. Your body knows something you don't. Danger's coming. The real kicker? Even if you're shot hit, even if you drop your target clean, you still might not survive it. Because now the whole system is responding. That one bullet just invited the entire German counter-sniper doctrine to your doorstep. The worst is when the air is damp. The kind of damp that lingers in the bones. The smoke doesn't lift thin. It clings, like it has nowhere better to be. In fog, it's even worse. The haze holds it like a precious gift, magnifying it, stretching it, letting it float lazily above your hide for minutes at a time. Minutes. You've watched it happen. A fellow sniper down the line took a shot during a misty morning stand too. From your hide, you saw his position erupt seconds later. Artillery, maybe, or just a lucky counter-sniper shot. Either way, all that was left after the smoke cleared was a crater and part of a helmet. All it did was cake your muzzle so bad the next shot sent a chunk flying right past your own ear. You didn't try that again, even at night, when visibility is supposed to be your ally. The muzzle flash is brighter than a sparkler. You've seen it reflected in puddles and remembered too late that a glint of light can travel far when you don't move. You barely breathe. The rifle rests quiet now. Its smoke long gone, but your body is locked in place like it's been carved out of stone. This is the part nobody tells you about. The part that isn't dramatic. It isn't cinematic. It's just still and hard. So much harder than it sounds. You've been in this position since before sunrise. Elbows in the mud. Rifle braced on a lopsided stone. Your joints ache, your toes are numb, and your bladder's been screaming since the last artillery lull. But you can't move. Not even to scratch the itch that's been dancing on your neck for the last hour. Because sniping in the trenches isn't about shooting. It's about watching, waiting, becoming invisible by doing absolutely nothing. Stillness isn't natural. Not this kind. Your body fights it. Muscles twitch. Skin prickles. But you've learned how to suppress the instincts. You have to. Any movement, a shift of a knee, the tilt of a head, can draw the eye. Especially when the enemy's trained to notice what doesn't belong. And they are trained. Oh yes. German snipers don't nap on duty. They're up, scopes glinting in the haze, peering across the torn landscape, looking for the slightest sign that someone's hiding behind a broken beam or crouched in a crater. They're waiting for you to flinch. Historians still debate how much of this deadly stillness was necessity versus overcaution. But when you're lying under a tarp made of old rags and grass, with your breath fogging the scope lens and the sound of shells occasionally turning earth into mist, it doesn't feel theoretical. What it feels like is pressure. Heavy, suffocating, and somehow quiet. Like the air itself doesn't want to draw attention. You remember when you were first assigned to sniper duty. They told you you'd be alone a lot. What they didn't say was that you'd feel it. In the long stretches where the only movement is your pulse throbbing behind your eyes. In the way the trench noises fade until it's just you, your breath. And the slow drip of water off a rusted helmet somewhere above. You don't just stay still to avoid being seen. You stay still because the artillery listens too. Artillery observers, the quiet. Patient ones with maps and binoculars love catching snipers out in the open. They're good at it too. They log everything. Every report of movement. Every likely hide. Then they feed those coordinates to the gunners behind the lines who sit in the dry, cranking angles and dialing in their kill. And if you're unlucky, boom. Not a long wait. Not some vague warning. Just sudden thunder. Dirt in your mouth. The sky flipping upside down. Maybe a ringing in your ears, if you're lucky. Or maybe nothing. You lie there and wonder, is the spot marked? Has someone seen the shimmer of your scope? Did the shot you took an hour ago set a timer ticking? The shelling is random, but not really. It's precise in ways that terrify you more than bullets. When the guns find your hide, There's no duel, no warning shot. Just an immediate correction by fire. A friend of yours, Samson, from the East Yorkshire Regiment, spent 6 hours tracking a German officer through a maze of trenches. Lined up his shot perfectly. Took it. 10 seconds later, his position vanished under a shell. Not coincidence. Suppression fire. Timed. Mapped. The enemy didn't need to see him. They just needed his location once. You flinch, involuntarily, remembering. The sound of that shell still rings in your memory. The impact was so precise, it was like the earth itself had been given orders. You peer through your scope again. The crosshairs drift, the kind that slowly seeps into your core and tells your limbs it's time to shut down. You want to flex your legs, roll your neck. You don't. Instead, you shift your weight just slightly to keep your circulation going. The last time you didn't, your legs wouldn't work for 2 hours after you crawl back. That was a fun conversation with the medic. You told him you'd been lying still for 10 hours. He told you that was stupid. He wasn't wrong. But out here, you don't get the luxury of smart decisions. You get necessary ones. Like when you're tracking a high-value target and you know if you stay just 20 more minutes, you might get the shot. Or you might get shelled. Or spotted. Or nothing at all. Then the ground shook, and the bird, you notice it first as a change in the air, slight, damp, oddly sweet. It seeps through the haze like morning fog, except this fog bites when it enters your nose. It's not natural. Not rain, not smoke. The bird stopped singing again. You reach down with a slow, trembling hand and pat at your hip, fingers fumbling for your mask. It's in the pouch, where it always is, but panic makes it feel like the pouch is miles wide. You tug it out, fingers scraping the canister, and shove it onto your face. The seal isn't good. It never is. This is one of the old ones, early design. 2 eyepieces that fog instantly and a hose that kinks when you move wrong. But it's better than breathing that in. Gas is cruel in ways bullets aren't. Actually, maybe a German shell meant for your trench line drifted your way. Wind doesn't care about uniforms. That's the problem. Even when your own side uses gas, it can turn on you. You've heard the stories. Some poor soul thinks he's safe until he smells pepper, and then, too late. You remember that corporal in the 2nd Battalion. Found in a ditch, mask half on, eyes glassy. Nails torn from clawing at his own throat. Gas is a quiet death, but it's not peaceful. You adjust the mask. But now your world is a pair of foggy lenses and labored breathing through a crumpled tube. You can't see through your scope properly. The eyepieces smear against the glass. You aim, and the world blurs. A gray smudge over a brown smudge. No definition, no target. You try to wipe the lens. The rubber glove slides awkwardly. You see less, not more. You almost laugh, except it comes out as a cough. That's another thing they don't tell you. You can't shoot properly in a gas mask. The trigger pull is harder when you can't feel the metal. The rubber gloves slip. The eye relief is off. And the breath in your ears becomes so loud you can't hear anything else. You're blind, deaf, and struggling to breathe. And you're supposed to take a precision shot, right? But you stay. Because if you move, you make noise. You could attract attention. So you crouch there like a blind mole. Try not to inhale too deeply, hoping the filters still work. They're supposed to last hours. They rarely do. You can't help but think of what's in that air right now. Not just gas. All the other things war mixes into the atmosphere. Dirt, rot, rust body. A little cocktail drifting into your lungs if the mask leaks even slightly. But slightly higher. You can see the field better from here. Barely. Still blurred, still stifling. At least your hands have stopped shaking. You glance behind you. The line's still quiet. Maybe they didn't get hit. Maybe this was one of those wandering clouds, drifting like a phantom, targeting no one in particular. A friend told you once that he saw a gas cloud move like a living thing. Said it coiled around a crater like a snake. Then nothing moved after. No birds. No breath. Just quiet. You're not sure if it was true. But standing here now, wrapped in sweat, vision obscured, breath wheezing through a canister that tastes like old socks and metal. You could believe it. You wait for the wind to change again, to blow it back where it came from, or forward, anywhere but here. Eventually, the air does shift. Not much, but enough. The sting in your nose fades. The heaviness lifts. You peel the mask off slow. Careful. You hold your breath as you do. Then take a shallow inhale. Nothing. Just mud and gunpowder. Relief and filth. You wipe the sweat from your face and look around. The field is empty again. You are alone. Still waiting. Still watching. But now, with every breath, you're just a little more aware of how lucky you are to still be breathing at all. No man's land is quiet. That should be a comfort. But you know better. Silence out here is rarely peace. It's suspense. A hell breath. A still pond before the splash. You lie flat again. You slip through the sandbag cut and into the gloom, heart pounding, rifle slung, feet light. And now here you are, hours later, in a stretch of churned-up wasteland. Every crater a death memory. Every piece of wire a trap. Behind you is home, or the closest thing to it in this world. But from here, it may as well be the moon. You are alone, and not in the poetic sense. Properly, bone deep alone. Your only company. Rusted helmets buried in the muck, an occasional crow overhead, and that strange sense that someone else might be watching. You shift your weight. Slowly. Every move counts out here. The mud makes a soft slurp beneath your elbow. You pause. Wait. Nothing. There's a stretch of wire ahead, collapsed, knotted with fabric and what might be the remains of a boot. Beyond it is a slight depression in the ground. Perfect vantage. Terrible retreat path. Historians still argue about the effectiveness of forward sniper hides like this. Did they really make a difference? Were they too risky? But the officers love them. High reward, high cost. They give you a little pep talk. Hold it for 48 hours. Don't engage unless you're sure. And then you're sent out with 3 biscuit tins, a leaky canteen, and some unlucky charm called courage. You eat sparingly, if at all. Noise attracts attention. You urinate into a tiny can so the steam won't rise. You don't smoke. You barely swallow. This is where the term hide becomes literal. You don't just stay unseen. You become invisible. For hours, sometimes days. You knew a man once, Warwick, who stayed out 72 hours straight. Barely moved. Took 3 confirmed shots. Crawled back only after his water ran out and a rat started chewing his boot. He didn't speak for 2 days afterward. Just sat in the dugout, staring at the wall, mouthing numbers. You reach the depression and slide in, chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. The ridge gives you just enough height to watch the enemy trench line without exposing yourself. You nestle in. Once you've fired or even been seen, getting back to your own trench is like running a gauntlet in slow motion. No man's land is riddled with wire, trip flares, dead zones. And those clever little listening posts the enemy sets up just to catch people exactly like you. The trench line might send a runner if they're feeling generous, or a covering barrage. But most of the time, you're on your own. The unwritten rule. If you make it back, you are worth saving. You eye the sun. It's starting to dip. That helps. Shadows lengthen. Cover improves. But with darkness comes its own problems. More movement. Patrols. Raiding parties. Guys crawling through wire hoping to get close enough to toss grenades into dugouts. The night isn't silent. It's louder in ways you can't always hear. And the worst thought, if you're wounded out here, there's no stretcher, no rescue team, no dramatic charge. You'll crawl, in, or you'll wait, and bleed, and wonder if someone will risk their life for a maybe. You settle into your hide. The dirt is cold and strangely soft. You steady your breathing. Somewhere in that trench across from you, a soldier leans too far above the parapet. He adjusts his helmet. He scratches his neck. You watch. You don't fire. Not yet. Because once you do, the return becomes 10 times harder. You think again of the trench line, those duckboards, that chipped enamel mug someone left behind, the way the steam rose from a tin of weak tea. The rifle doesn't lie. When it malfunctions, it does so with the indifference of a kitchen drawer that won't close. And today, it decides it's in a mood. You're in your hide, body aching. I press to the scope, and your target just walked into the perfect position. A German officer, tall, confident, probably smug. You line up the shot, exhale and squeeze. Click. No van. No recoil. Just a soft, useless click. Your heart stumbles. You keep your eye on the sight, pretending, hoping it was just a weird sound. Maybe the trigger slipped. You ease the bolt back, trying to cycle the round. It's stiff. The mud's caked in there again, thick and uncooperative. You whisper something rude to the rifle, not out loud, but in the way you shift your jaw, the way your eyebrows twitch. Because this thing, this slightly modified Lee Enfield, is supposed to be your best friend. But it's not. It's a temperamental, mud-choked gremlin held together by tape. Luck and maybe spite. You work the bolt again. The chamber finally spits out the round. It's dented, kissed by grit. That's what happens when your ammo pouches soak for a week and your rifle sleeps in sludge. You load another round. Try again. Bang. Finally. But too late. The officer's gone. The opportunity vanished. You just made noise and gave yourself away for nothing. Historians like to romanticize sniping. Clean shots, precision, professionalism. But out here, you've learned its ticks. You know that after 20 shots, the bolt sticks a little on the left pull. That the sight adjustment ring tends to shift if you bump it during your crawl. That mud, not even visible mud, but the invisible kind that lives in the metal, can slow the firing pin just enough to give you heartburn. Your kit was never designed for this job. Not really. The Army adapted what it had. Hunting scopes bolted on it infantry rifles. Civilian optics in a war zone. Sandbags as rests. You're basically doing surgery with a butter knife. You shift your elbows. Light glints off something across the field just for a second. A blink. A shimmer. You stop moving. Your heart doesn't. It could have been anything. Morning dew on a tin can. A trick of the breeze. Traded stories. But now it's personal. Because somewhere out there, someone is doing what you're doing. Watching, waiting, breathing slow, finger near the trigger. Except now you're the one in their scope. Historians still argue how often sniper duels happened during the Great War. Some say they were rare, romanticized by memoirs. Others insist it was constant, a deadly dance between ghosts. The truth? You don't care. It's happening now. You remember the last time someone you knew got hunted. Dennison. Good shot. Smart lad. He thought he saw movement one day. Just a twitch behind a stone wall. He stared too long. Never even fired. Just stared. Then he crumpled sideways like a dropped rag. The round came from over 500 yards. They never found the shooter. Just a brass casing stuck in a tree branch 3 trenches over. Since then, you've learned. Don't assume you're alone. Ever. You scan the field through the corner of your eye. No sudden movements. Just breathing. Observation. You trace back where the glint came from. Roughly. It's tricky. Light doesn't obey rules out here. It dances, reflects, lies. But still, you start narrowing it down. Likely angle. Terrain features. Where you'd hide if the roles were reversed. You spot it, maybe. A patch of dirt that doesn't match. A too clean edge on a sandbag. A shadow that looks slightly wrong for the time of day. You know this game. Your scope comes up, slow, deliberate. You hold your breath to keep the lens steady. Scan. Nothing. Wait. There. A shape. Not a clear one. Just a hint of structure that shouldn't be there. Maybe he's doing the same right now. Watching him. This isn't about speed. Barely perceptible. A shift in light. You don't think. You react. Your shot cracks out. No time to doubt. The recoil jolts your shoulder. You stay down. Head low. Waiting. Nothing. No return shot. No kurai. No sound. Was it real? Did you hit him? Did he duck? Was he even there? You'll never know. That's the curse of this role. You fight ghosts. Sometimes you kill them. Sometimes they kill you. You stay low for the next hour, just in case. Finally, you retreat. Slow, careful, like a leaf drifting back on the wind. Every inch a risk. When you make it back to the trench, a sapper grins at you and says, "You look like you saw a ghost." You did, and maybe you were one, too. You watch him light the cigarette. It's not just a spark. It's a ritual. The match is slow, deliberate. He shields the flame with cupped hands. The glow flickers against his cheeks for a heartbeat before the smoke curls upward. You've seen him before. Same spot, same time, every other day or so. Just past the forward trench. Behind a half-fallen wooden panel. Perched like a man who no longer fears consequences. He always smokes around dusk. Probably thinks it's safe. Probably thinks no one's watching. But you are. You've been watching him for weeks now. You know how he moves, how he rests his elbow on the same beam, how he leans slightly to the left as he exhales. You even know he flicks the spent match onto the same stone. He doesn't know you. He doesn't know that across the cratered earth, someone has memorized him. You hesitate, not because of nerves. Not today. You hesitate because you know him now. Not his name, not his rank, but something else. The rhythm of his habits. The way his body settles into familiarity like he's not in a war anymore. But back home on a porch. And that's the danger. Because once your target becomes real, becomes human, the job gets harder. This isn't like shooting a helmet bobbing on a stick, or a distant shape behind a screen of fog. This is a man, a breathing, blinking man, one who probably has a sweetheart, one who probably cursed the cold this morning, just like you. Historians sometimes write about sniper psychology as though it's all math and angles. But the snipers themselves, the ones who lasted, they speak of something else, the weird intimacy. The wind's picked up a little, a soft eastward drift. Your fingers adjust for it automatically. This is the part you know, the part that doesn't involve emotion. Ballistics, angle, range. It's 270 meters, slight incline, accounting for drop, breeze, and the fact that your rifle's running a bit dirty. Simple math. But none of that silences the voice in the back of your mind. The one that says, maybe let him finish the cigarette. You don't have to take the shot. He's not firing, not climbing the parapet. He's just there existing in a way that suddenly feels unfair to end. And still, your job. This is your role in the war. One round, one decision, no room for philosophy. You remember the morning you saw him helping someone. Another soldier limped past, and the man reached down without hesitation, pulled him along. You watched, rifle silent, letting that one moment pass unchallenged. Now you wonder if that was a mistake. He could be a sharpshooter himself. Could be the one who took out Dennison, or Willis, or the one who left that faint glint on your scope last week. But somehow you don't think so. Today he just looks tired. Still, your breath slows. The crosshairs settle. This is the cleanest angle you've ever had on him. Your cheek rests cold on the stock. A perfect shot. But is it? You wonder what it'll feel like afterward. Not guilt exactly, just emptiness. Like you've erased something that was never try to harm you. Like breaking a window because someone left it open. And yet, you know if you don't take the shot, someone else will. Some other sniper with less patience, less familiarity. Someone who doesn't know that this man smokes with his left hand and blinks twice when he squints. That doesn't make you feel better. It just means you're the one deciding. He stands, stretch complete, dusts his jacket, begins to step away. You breathe in, finger resting. Then he's gone, ducking back into the trench. You didn't fight. The silence wraps tighter now. Not soft silence, not the peaceful kind. This is the other kind, the silence that creeps around you like a closing hand. You're not hunting anymore, not observing. You're waiting to be found. You're the mouse now. You slide your rifle just a hair to the left, heart pounding like it knows something your brain hasn't caught up to yet. Whatever it is, it's telling you you're not alone. You resist the urge to look over your shoulder. That's how they get you. Movement, even a flick of an eye, a twitch of a hand. Not what a good sniper waits for. He doesn't fire the moment he sees you. He waits until you think you're safe. Then, when you shift, pop. Lights out. You know the signs. You caused them yourself. You've been that watcher, lying in stillness, breath barely a suggestion, waiting for someone to make that fatal mistake. Now, you're the one in the trap. Historians still debate how often counter-sniper operations succeeded. Some say it was mostly luck, chance meetings in the mud. Others point to entire units trained to flush out and eliminate snipers through slow, creeping hunts. You've seen both. And you know, luck runs out. Training doesn't. You adjust your position, slow, so slow. Your joints scream, but your rifle stays aligned. You move no more than an inch, just enough to change the geometry, to shift the angles in your favor. Across the way, maybe it's your reflection that gave you away. Maybe your scope glinted, or maybe the sniper hunting you has been watching for longer than you realized. And now he's just waiting. There's no shot yet. No cry of alarm. No sudden sid. That's almost worse. Because now the duel begins. And it is a duel. Not dramatic, not fast, but real. One-on-one. Each of you frozen in the world's most dangerous staring contest. Whoever moves first probably dies. You think about every detail. Your hat. Is it casting a shadow? Your rifle barrel. Is it visible against the background? Is your breathing fogging the lens? You try to slow your pulse. Try not to think about how open you are. How this patch of mud seemed safe 2 hours ago, and now feels like a stage. The sniper who's watching you, if he's out there, might be better than you. Might be worse. Doesn't matter. All it takes is one shot. From one moment of carelessness. You consider breaking line. Just sliding back. But that's riskier. Movement equals death. Retreat isn't stealth. It's a shuffle through brutal debris, the kind that betrays you before you've even shifted weight. You stay. Still. The minutes crawl. Your muscles start to tremble. You appreciate it now. Your ear itches. You don't scratch it. That's how the last sniper died. Smallwood. Itched his eyebrow. His finger rose up for just a second. A German sniper took it off. Clean. You stare down your scope, but you don't search. You feel. Snipers know this sensation. The enemy's presence. That crawling awareness. Not visible. Not certain. Just there. A weight behind the air. And then, movement. Across the wire. A shift. You don't look directly. You scan with the edge of your eye. There, between two beams, a shadow flickers. Not solid. Not clear. But a form. You freeze harder. And now you know. He's out there. Not just a guess. A reality. And he's doing exactly what you're doing. Waiting for you to betray yourself. You wonder if he's scared. Or calm. The war doesn't end, but your shift does. You're told to rotate out. 2 days on the line. Now 2 off, though off is generous. You crawl back through the mud. Every movement slow, careful. You return to the trench where someone hands you lukewarm tea and says, "You're up next week." You nod like that means something. Like time exists out here. In the dugout. You remove your gear piece by piece. Scope, rifle, belt. Each item placed down like you're unloading parts of yourself. The rifle sits across your knees. You inspect it without really seeing it. The bolt's stiff again. No surprise. The mud loves it more than you do. You try to rest, but your ears still listen. Even without sound, they're tuned for a crack in the distance. For the next shot. For the shot meant for you. Your mates chat beside you. Something about a card game. Someone's planning to brew coffee over a candle. You try to join in, but your mind is still in the mud. Still staring at a flicker behind a beam. Still wondering if someone out there is thinking of you the way you thought of them. This isn't about tactics anymore. It's about memory. You remember every shot, not just the clean ones. Especially not the clean ones. You remember the near misses, the uncertain ones. The ones where you never found the body. The ones where you think, maybe, just maybe, the man ducked, or walked away, or didn't. There's a strange guilt in that. Not the kind you cry over, the kind that lingers. Quietly, like a song stuck in your head that no one else can hear. You don't regret every trigger pull. You understand the role, but understanding doesn't make it easier. You write in your logbook. Coordinates, wind speed, position, type of rifle, probable result, kill. You pause before writing that last part. There's no one checking your math. No one confirming the count. Just a line in a battered notebook that says someone might be gone because of you. You wonder if they kept notebooks, too. Historians sometimes talk about snipers as elite. Precision artists. Game changers. But few talk about the mental toll. The after. The quiet. The waiting. The nothing. You sit in the dugout and try to talk about something else. The weather. Letters from home. A rumor that the Americans might be sending chocolate. Anything. But every topic loops back. Back to the field. Back to the scope. Back to the man who might be lying in a German trench. Cleaning his rifle. Wondering why he hesitated. Or why you didn't. Because the weirdest part? You feel connected to them. You don't hate them. Not the way you hate the gas. Or the rats. Or the lice. You respect them. Because they're just like you. Snipers are the only people who truly understand other snipers. And when one dies, it's not celebration. It's subtraction. The light changes in the way that tells you the day is about to die. Not fey die. There's a finality to it. Shadows stretch long over the trench boards, and the air feels heavier, somehow, like it's holding its breath before night properly settles in. You know what comes next? The night watch. It's the sniper's least favorite shift, and not because you can't see. Quite the opposite. Night sharpens the senses in unexpected ways. Every whisper of movement sounds louder. Every distant shape looks more suspicious. And out here, in the long stretches between stars, you know full well. You're not the only one using darkness as cover. You're back in a forward position again, tucked low behind a twisted cluster of fallen wood and earth. A sniper post cobbled together from misery and luck. There's a chill now, worse than usual. Your coat's damp, your scope's wrapped in a rag to stop it from shining, and your eyes ache. This isn't like the day shift when you scan for hats peeking above sandbags. At night, you're not looking for details. You're looking for movement. Tiny, almost imperceptible movement, shadows that shift wrong, shapes that grow where they shouldn't. Your breathing is shallow, controlled. You can't risk fogging the lens. And all around you, the world listens back. This part of the front is quieter than usual tonight. No artillery in the distance. No yelling from the trenches. Just the low creak of the world adjusting to the dark. Historians still wonder whether night sniping was truly effective. Did it increase danger? Or just the illusion of it? But to you, out here, rifle balanced on the edge of a splintered beam, it feels real enough. You've seen what happens at night. Raiding parties crawling through wire. Men dragging knives and grenades like ghosts. One wrong flicker of movement, and you're facing a patrol rather than a shot. You remember one night, the worst one, a low shape scuttled between crater rims. Not fast, not careful, just steady. You thought it was an animal at first, maybe a dog. Then it stood, a man, helmetless, pale face catching the faint moonlight. You don't know if he was lost or just mad, but he kept walking slow, like he didn't know there was a war. You didn't shoot, not because of mercy. You were terrified. He passed right in front of you, close enough to see that his eyes weren't right. Unfocused, like no one was home. The next day, you found out a German soldier had wandered into the British line and been captured without a struggle. Just collapsed into a stretcher bearer's arms and said, "Is it over yet?" You wonder if that was him. You think it might have been, but you'll never be sure. Tonight feels like that night. You scan the field, heart steady, ears open. There's movement again, a flutter of fabric, maybe, or a flap of canvas blown loose. You adjust your scope. A lantern flickers somewhere behind the enemy trench. Just for a moment, you freeze. Lanterns are rare at night. They attract attention. They attract you. You dial your scope in further. Nothing, just the impression of shapes. Could be a trap. Could be someone signaling a patrol. Could be a medic. You never know out here. You glance to your side. A corporal down the line is doing the same. Watching. Waiting. You raise 2 fingers. He mirrors it. Silent. Into the lower part of your hide. Rifle angled toward the sound. You wait. 30 seconds. A minute. You see it now. A man low-crawling close. Not enemy. Yours. Private Linton. Young. New. Too eager. You grab his ankle just as he gets near your hide, yanking him still. He almost yells. You hiss at him through your teeth. He doesn't know how loud he's being. Doesn't know how close he was to getting both of you killed. He whispers something about a new post order. You nod. Gesture for him to backtrack, quietly. He goes. You shake your head and refocus. That's the other thing about night work. You're not just dodging the enemy. You're dodging your own side's incompetence. Because even one idiot with a loose canteen or a bad bootlace can give away your position. You settle in again, this time lower, more hidden, more still. The moon peeks through a slit in the clouds. The light is silver. Morning doesn't come so much as it leaks in, thin and gray, like someone forgot to finish painting the sky. There's no sunrise, no warm golden spill over the horizon. Just a reluctant pale smear across the clouds. You're still out here. You've been awake for most of the night, shifting your position no more than a hand's breadth in any direction. Now your muscles are locking up. Your spine feels like it's full of wet sand. Your stomach reminds you it's been ignored. And your eyelids burn like they've been scrubbed with grit. But you can't leave yet. The dawn is when things get tricky. Soldiers on both sides grow careless in the early light. They stretch, peek above parapets, smoke, and snipers know it. Dawn is when the first kill of the day usually happens. Not by some roaring charge, but a single crack from 400 yards away. You shift your eye to the scope again. The world has texture now. Shapes have depth again. You scan slowly. There's movement in the enemy trench, tiny, distant. A silhouette rising for a second. A helmet glinting before ducking again. You note the angle, the location. You wait. The wind is light but steady. West to east. Favelhaben. You exhale. Not yet. Something changes. To your left, a shape. You freeze. It's not enemy. It's not wildlife. It's another sniper. British. Older. You don't know his name. He must be from another company. He's crawling low, trying to find a new position. Probably fresh off rotation. Probably hasn't slept. You almost wave him off. Tell him it's not safe here, but you don't. Because as you're about to open your mouth, you see it. His scope is uncovered, and it's catching the light. You inhale sharply. You know what that means. A sniper on the German side, maybe watching now, will see that shimmer. That single second of reflection, like a flare against dull dawn air. That's enough. You don't even have time to shout. The crack arrives like punctuation. The other sniper spasms, rifle clattering. He doesn't cry out, just stops. He'd only been visible for a few seconds. You don't move, because whoever fired that shot is still watching. They'll wait to see if anyone comes for the body. They want another. You crawl lower, slowly. You don't approach. You don't signal. You simply note the body's position. Another casualty of forgetfulness, or fatigue, or plain, unfair luck. Historians often skip these moments. They talk about major battles, strategic turns. But this is what the war actually looks like. One moment of carelessness and an anonymous death that never makes it to a headline. You've seen too many now. That sniper, he had a name. Probably a mother. Maybe kids. But now he's just the guy who forgot his scope cover. You lie there, pulse thudding in your ears. Every instinct tells you to go check on him. But you know better. You know the shooter is still there. You feel him. The watcher. That's the worst part. Being watched and knowing you're watched. But not knowing where from. You scan, careful. Nothing. Then, a sliver of movement behind a bundle of logs. Could be anything. Could be him. You debate the shot. Too far? Too vague? If you miss, you'll give yourself away. But then you think of the sniper who just died beside you. You line up the scope. Hold your breath. The crosshairs drift slightly. You adjust. 1 inch higher. You squeeze the trigger. Crack. You stay low. Wait. No return fire. You keep waiting. 5 minutes pass. Then 10. Finally, you move. Cautious. Patient. But that doesn't matter. You head forward. The sap they're talking about, a narrow, extended trench poking into no man's land, is new. Built just last week. You'd heard rumors that Command wanted to get snipers closer to enemy wire. Riskier? Yes, but with better sight lines. And now here you are, filling a spot where someone else stopped breathing. The ground gets worse the farther you go. Mud deepens. Zandboxholt. You hear the sound of artillery far off to the north. Someone else's nightmare today. You reach the forward post. It's barely a trench now, more like a stretched out gash in the earth. 2 other men are already there. A spotter and another sniper. Thompson, a lanky, soft-spoken fellow who always smells like gun oil and peppermint. He doesn't speak as you slide into position beside him. Just nods. You adjust your rifle, settling into the hide. You get your bearings, and then you see them. 3 Germans, exposed, talking at the edge of their line, maybe 250 yards off. Not even crouching. They don't know about this new sap yet. They shouldn't be visible. You feel Thompson shift beside you. You both clock them at the same time. 2 officers, 1 enlisted, based on uniform and posture. They lean over a map on a crate. You raise your scope. Left or right? You whisper. Thompson pauses. Middle. You exhale. Fine. You both fire. Crack, crack. The two officers drop. The enlisted man runs. Too late. You cycle the bolt, already scanning for return fire. Nothing yet. Maybe you've bought a few moments before they figure out what just happened. Thompson reloads. We'll catch hell for that. You know he's right, because when snipers succeed, retaliation follows. Always. Historians sometimes call it sniper suppression doctrine, a polite term for blow up the entire area with everything you've got. You dig in. 10 minutes pass. Then 15. Still no reply. And then the world changes. Boom! The first shell lands 10 meters away. Earth flies. Mud rains down. Your ears ring. Another. This one closer. The edge of your position collapses. You curl in, shielding the scope. A creeping barrage. Not aimed precisely, just meant to punish. One falls too close. Your left side lights up with pain. You bite your tongue to stay quiet. Thompson throws a glance. You wave him off. Blood? Probably. But not critical. Not yet. The shelling slows. Then stops. Silence returns, but it's changed. Charged. Like the earth itself is waiting to exhale. You press your palm to your side, wet, sticky. You try to assess. Can't see enough. Doesn't matter. You look through the scope again. Enemy line is empty now. The bodies are gone. Replaced by anger, likely. By calculation. You stay low. Every breath hurts now. Each inhale pokes at something deep. But you're not pulling out. Not yet. Because you know, right now, you've become the reason they're watching. Somewhere over there, a rifle is aimed. Waiting. Patient. Just like you. And this time, you're the ghost they're hoping to see. The bleeding slowed. That's the best news you've had all day. The wound shallow, just shrapnel. Hurts like the devil, but you'll live. Thompson wraps a bandage around your side in silence. His hands quick, careful. You wince, not because it's tight, but because it reminds you that you're still here. Still inside the war. You both settle back into the hide. There's no relief. Just a return to the routine. Rifle. Scope. Stillness. The enemy knows where you are now. Or close enough. That makes it more interesting. Because you're not hiding anymore. Not really. Now you're part of a mutual understanding. A contract between you and someone across the way. I'm watching, and I know you're watching too. And every moment is a dare. You take the scope up again. Scan the trench line. A new shape appears, just briefly. A head? A helmet? Could be bait. Could be real. You don't shoot. Not yet. There's a fine line between boldness and stupidity. And you've walked it too many times already. Thompson nudges you. If we're lucky, they think we pulled out. If we're lucky, you mutter, they believe in luck. He chuckles a dry, sandpaper sound. The hours drag. Your side throbs, but you manage. The blood's crusted into the bandage, and everything smells like wet leather and dirt. You drink sparingly from your canteen, wincing with every swallow. Somewhere down the trench line, someone hums a tune you half recognize. And then something shifts. It's subtle. A new glint. A form. This time, not careless. Deliberate. You lower your head, gently. No movement. Just presence. He's there. Across the field. The German sniper. The one who's taken your measure. This isn't instinct now. It's certainty. You've been the ghost. Now you're the target. Historians argue whether sniper-on-sniper duels were strategic or personal. You don't see the difference. When you stare through the lens at another man who's doing the same, the world narrows to the two of you. Nothing else matters. Not rank, not supply lines, not the shape of nations. Just you. And him. And who blinks first. You slide lower in your hide. Press into the muck. Realign your scope, slow and patient. And wait. You study the angle. The field, the likely spot, and you make a decision. You raise your helmet on the barrel of your rifle, an old trick. Slowly, just enough to break the silhouette above the edge of your cover. Then you move, not out, but sideways just a foot, and you wait. 1 second, 2, then, crack. The helmet jerks. The bullet punches through with casual precision. You smile, just slightly. Got him. Not dead yet, but you have his line. His angle. He gave himself away. Now it's your turn. You slide into firing position. Carefully, you narrow your eyes through the scope. The field sharpens, and you see him. Low, hidden, but not invisible. You line up the shot. and you hesitate because he's good, because this could have been reversed